Okay, this is where we stopped. Yeah? Establishing the long vowels and diphthongs of early modern English. Okay, you see two diphthongs, A and O, and the rest are monophthongs. The important thing, once again, is that E and E are still distinct. Okay, and they are going to coalesce later on. All right, I want to talk about a few incongruencies. After the Great Vowel Shift, shortening in the course of the Great Vowel Shift. Okay, the Great Vowel Shift starting something like 400-500 years ago, and then what happened in between when a vowel was shortened. Okay, and you have to think about that. When a vowel is shortened in the course of the Great Vowel Shift, it doesn't go the whole way. Okay, it's shortened and probably stays. And this is the problem with words like that. What happened to those words? Yeah, instead, head, good. Okay, the graphemes, of course, denote that they are long. You should expect instead and heed and good or something like that. Okay, something must have happened. Now the question is what? Okay, and it's certainly what has happened is a shortening after the first phase of the Great Vowel Shift. It must have, yeah, so that instead, this would have been Chaucer, becomes something like instead in the first phase of the Great Vowel Shift, and then shortened, and instead. It doesn't go all the way to instead because it's shortened before it becomes instead. You see, get the drift. Same true for head. Yeah, head in Chaucer becomes head, shortened, head, and not going further up in the Great Vowel Shift. With good, Chaucer God, then becoming good, and then shortened good. All right. So shortened shortly after the Great Vowel Shift. In Shakespeare, certainly long vowels still. Yeah? Shakespeare would have still certainly said instead and head and good. Of course he would. Okay. Here once again, to exemplify what I've just said. Yeah. So shorten somewhere. Yeah. Instead and head. Yeah. Here. In the time that's symbolized by this circle here. Okay. Shortened. And then not going up all the way to E, and with good, it must have been shortened after the Great Vowel Shift, certainly, otherwise we would have God today or something like this. We don't, we have oo. So it went as a long vowel into the Great Vowel Shift and then shortened. Okay, so yes, you can explain these things. Other problems, early modern pronunciation. Of blood, mood, and soot. What I can say is, for once, if you want to have early modern pronunciation, do rely on spelling. Okay, so early modern would certainly be blood, mood, soot. Okay, blood, mood, and soot. Yeah, okay, whatever. Do rely on spelling. They certainly all had the same long velar vowel. Okay. What do we do? And I come to that, in order to reconstruct, in order to see what was going on in the Great Vowel Shift, it's always worthwhile to look at rhymes of early modern poems. Okay? And these are some rhymes I gleaned from Shakespeare's sonnets. Okay? And a lot of people say that Shakespeare used, uncouth rhymes at times, assonances even. He very seldom did, and if he did, he did it for rhetorical purposes. Shakespeare knew how to rhyme, and I would say that 98% of all the things that don't rhyme anymore today used to rhyme once. They were rhymes, historical rhymes in Shakespeare's times. Just a few, these are rhymes from Shakespeare. Alone and gone, or gone. Alone and gone is a rhyme in Shakespeare. Alone and gone. Too long or. Alone and one. lawn and on. We come to this one thing later on. It's complicated, it's dialectal, but we come to that. Or age and pilgrimage don't rhyme anymore. It must have been something like edge and pilgrimage. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. And we'll see this. Yeah? Love and prove. Well, I rhyme. No, it's not an I rhyme. It's a real rhyme. Love and prove. They do rhyme in Shakespeare. Okay. Wind and find. Diphthongs. Waned and feigned. Okay. Why is it today wind? We'll come to that. We'll come to that. Okay, but yes. Come and tomb, certainly two long vowels, coom and tomb. Okay. Heaven and even, certainly two long e, haven and even. They used to rhyme. Brood and blood, they occur in Shakespeare. Brood and blood, they rhyme in Shakespeare. Oh yes. Temperate and date, yeah, sonnet 18. Yeah, thou art more lovely and more temperate. Summer sort of shorter. Date. Yeah. Temperate and date, most likely, yes, temperate and dead. Okay. I want to say this, yeah. Having a look at Shakespeare's rhymes and the rhymes of early modern poems in general, okay, make help us a lot to reconstruct, okay, early modern English sounds. So what happened? And why don't they rhyme anymore? And usually the explanation is that one vowel was shortened in the course of the great vowel shift. One of those two. Yeah? And so the great vowel shift was not fully finished. And I said this. Yeah? So take the example of blood. Okay? It certainly started out in Middle English as blood. Okay? And then first phase of the great vowel shift, early modern English, blood. Long. Still. But then the shortening must have occurred in the 18th century to blood. Okay? Blood. Before the 18th century, because in the 18th century, 18th century, something happens, the centralization to blood. Okay? So it must have been shortened before the central vowel came. Okay? Blood becomes blood. If it had been shortened in the 19th century, it would be blood today, not blood. Okay? So, many incongruities in modern English may be explained by some mess up, okay, in the course of the great vowel shift. Okay? Here are those two. Good, soot, foot. I mean, they all look like good, suit, and food, don't they? They must have been shortened even after, probably most likely after 1800, because they don't have the central vowel. If they had been shortened before, they would today be gud, sut, and fut. They are not. They are good, soot, and foot, and therefore shortened very recently, probably 200 years ago or something like that. So probably Byron still said good. Oh, look at that. Could be. Have to have a look at his rhymes. Byron is always good because he rhymes a lot. Okay, if you want to know about English pronunciation 200 years ago. Okay, or look at those. Yeah, head, deaf, bred, peasant, tread, sweat, dead. Okay, all of those must have been shortened in the 17th century. Okay, all of them starting out in Middle English as a long vowel something like this: head, deaf, bred, peasant, tread, sweat, dead, in Chaucer, something like this. And then great vowel shift: head, deaf, bred, peasant, tread, sweat, dead, something like it, and then shortened. And they must have been shortened in the 17th century if they, because only then does it make sense that they are not E. Okay, otherwise they would be E. They would be heed, deef, sweet, breed, peasant, treat, sweet. Sweet is a problem for the learner of English. To keep those two distinct. Sweet as in sweet and then stinky. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, so you have that. Look at this. So shortened, yeah, somewhere here, once again before, yeah, they turned E. And that's the only explanation we have, that we have so many words, yeah, with an ER spelling which display a short E, yeah, instead of long E. Shortened before they came E. Exactly around Shakespeare's times. Okay. Another main source of phonological incongruencies is, of course, incongruities, lengthening and shortening before the great vowel shift, because, I mean, if the words were shortened before the great vowel shift, they didn't go into the great vowel shift. Okay, makes sense. And then it may be something like, and look at that, we will look at these things in detail in some of the next installments here, that, as is the case here, we have the singular of this word was lengthened, became a long vowel, and the plural remained short, and therefore only the singular went into the great vowel shift and gave us child. So child became child. Long vowel, great vowel shift. Childru didn't. That was the plural, because it was short. And therefore we have child and children, because the singular went into the great vowel shift, the plural didn't. So these are, I just wanted to say this, these quantitative changes before the great vowel shift, now we will go back to the great vowel shift, before the great vowel shift, they will explain a lot of these kind of incongruities, okay? That one thing goes into the great vowel shift and the other not. Just depends on whether we are dealing with a long or short vowel before the great vowel shift. So we will go in reverse chronology to the times before the great vowel shift, to these lengthenings and shortenings. But first of all, a digression which I would like to make. I mean, this is going to be the next video after the next. First, I would like to have a short digression on Shakespeare's phonology, because he's so important. Okay, and then we come to these shortenings and lengthenings before the great vowel shift, because they determine whether a word is, a vowel goes into the great vowel shift or not. Is it short or not? Okay, you get the drift? Okay, splendid. Okay, so next one is going to be Shakespeare, and after that we come to these, what we call quantitative changes before the great vowel shift, mostly already in Old English.